Well, alright guys, today we are taking a soda bread one step further and making a luxury cheese and onion soda bread. No kneading, no proofing, just mix, shape and bake. And for this one we'll need some plain flour, wholemeal flour, baking soda and baking powder, secret ingredient there, some fine salt, a bunch of spring onions, some black pepper to taste, some Red Leicester cheese and some Parmigiano Reggiano, some buttermilk and some milk for glazing at the end. As usual, the ingredients will be shown on the screen along the way, and the full recipe will be at the end of the video and in the video description notes. The ingredients will be enough to make one medium-sized loaf. And as with any soda bread, the preparation is very quick, so get your oven preheating to 180 Celsius now. Here we go then. Finely chop your bunch of spring onions and coarsely grate about 60 grams of hard cheese. I'm using Red Leicester. Cheddar works very well, so does double Gloucester. Don't be tempted to use a blue cheese, it will be very overpowering if you do. They say you're never too old to learn, and I saw this tip on the internet the other day. When you're using a box grater, lay it on its side when you're grating cheese. The cheese falls inside the box grater, and then you can use the grater to transport the cheese to wherever you want. No messing around lifting it off the board. I'll tell you what, I will be doing this in future. Flip the box grater over onto the fine side and finely grate 50 grams of Parmigiano Reggiano. Any Italian hard cheese will do. A lot of them are called Parmesan, but Parmesan's more of a generic term, whereas the Parmigiano Reggiano has a PDO, that is a protected designation of origin, meaning it must be produced in Parma in Italy. It's a good cheese actually, it's got a nice nutty flavour. We're mixing up the flours for this one, so we want 50 grams of wholemeal flour and 200 grams of plain flour. In with half a teaspoon of baking soda, that's sodium bicarbonate, and also 1 teaspoon of baking powder. The baking powder will give it that little extra rise because it doesn't rely on the acid in the mix, i.e. the buttermilk, to give it the rise. It's got cream of tartar built into it. A bit technical, but it works. That's how sponges rise. In with half a teaspoon of fine salt. Use fine salt, not coarse salt. The coarse stuff won't have time to dissolve properly in this. Don't skip the salt. No matter what you think of salt, don't skip it. Most breads without salt are a bit bland and flat. Some say they can smell and taste like Play-Doh. I wonder if MSG, monosodium glutamate, might work. That's an experiment for the future, isn't it? Okay, here's me gassing away, missing the ingredients out. In with a good pinch of black pepper. Mustard powder would work, but do check that the people eating it aren't allergic to mustard. Give the ingredients a good mix in, and then in with half of the Parmigiano Reggiano, and in with about half of the spring onions. Then in with about half of the hard cheese. There's a lot of about quantities in this. It doesn't matter, every loaf is different when I make them. Give it all a good stirring. We need to get it all mixed together. I treated myself to a new baking sheet, so I'm not going to use baking parchment on this. I'm going to give it a dusting of flour. Right then, time for the buttermilk. I'm using store-bought this time. I'll give it a good shaking. You can see how thick it is there compared to my homemade one with the last soda bread. Now we need about 200 ml. I put most of it in, cut it all in with a knife, and then decided I need a little bit more. In the future, if I make a loaf exactly the same as this, I'll know to use just about 200 ml. This is why you need to write recipes down. There's no point trying to reinvent the wheel every time you cook something. When the dough is mixed just about as much as you can with a knife, get in there with your hand and squidge it all together. Gather up the last few bits of dry stuff. And when you've got it all together, tip it out onto your work surface and form it into a ball. Even though we've got the baking powder in there, we still need to work fairly quickly and avoid over kneading it. In fact, there's no kneading really, it's just bringing it all together. If you overwork the dough at this stage, you'll have quite a dense loaf. Scatter the remaining Italian cheese over your work surface and cover the ball with it, or roll the ball in it, whichever is easiest for you. Place the ball onto your prepared baking tray and brush over the milk. I say brush, I ended up more dabbing really. I was knocking the cheese off the surface. Using a dough scraper, or very carefully with a knife because of the baking sheet, cut the ball into 4. Go right through to the bottom. It doesn't look like I've gone through to the bottom there, but believe me, that's touching the bottom of the tray. Open up the gaps a little bit, scatter over the remaining hard cheese and some spring onions. And then it's in the oven for 35 to 45 minutes at the 180 Celsius. And that all depends on how thick your ball is really. If you've got a low-lying flat ball, it will cook quicker than a tall one. And the best way to tell if it's cooked or not is to take it out of the oven after about 35 minutes, tap the bottom. If it sounds hollow, it's cooked. If it sounds dull, it's not cooked. Pop it back in for another 10 minutes. Mine took 45 minutes. Nice. Right, let's get that cooling down. Wow, look at that, guys. Still a bit warm. Oh, the cheese is still runny as well. Oh. Gotta be done, hasn't it? Gotta be done. Looks okay. Yeah, very good. Right then. That is good lush. Now I reckon the baking powder gave that a nicer rise. Some purists might say not supposed to use it, but I've seen loads and loads of websites that do, so yeah. Right, that's brilliant, guys. You've got to try this one. It really is nice. Look after yourselves, take care, and I'll catch you on that next recipe. And that's the luxury cheese and onion soda bread, guys. Crisp on the outside, soft and cheesy on the inside. And that took just about an hour to make with the bacon. And as sure as eggs are eggs, my boy popped in for a visit and ended up taking half the loaf home with him. Guess what I'm making again tomorrow?